Oh, it was a power here to review the Kamen Rider Saber. I was going to say Zero Geo. DX Haouken Xross Saber. So this is our final form item for Kamen Rider Saber, to which grants Saber his final form Cross Saber, to which people despise because they hate simplicity. Hypocrites. So as you can see here, we got the Cross Saber right here. Cross Saber itself, obviously the Cross Saber within the sword driver. There's the Cross Saber itself, and there's a picture of it right here. So unlike Tatagami Hoju Senki, this is just a CGI rendering of the swords and such. And then this is literally everything you can do with this sword. There's literally a lot to cover with this. So I don't know why the battery on this, or why the batteries for the camera are draining. So I don't know. So here we have the Cross Saber out. As you can see right here, it's mostly cast in this nice glittery blue plastic with a secondary color of purple, which is pretty neat. And obviously we get our pliable, translucent, glitter injected blue plastic again. I really do like the look of the Cross Saber overall. Obviously, as you can see here, we get Wonder text engraved in it entirely, essentially this entire section. And then you get the button for this. Obviously, we get the sun with this red chrome, which is pretty neat. Obviously, where the rider emblem will be. This is the finisher button, or I don't think it's the Hisatsu read. But again, here's the blade, which obviously as we put this through, you can see the emblems of each Seiken. So obviously we get Rekka, Nagare, Ikazuchi. I apologize if you can't really see it well. So let's, yeah, again, there are those three. Then Gekido, Hayate, Susune. Then this one you get Kurayami, Saiko, Norishi, and Kaiji. Kyomu isn't included, but it is involved in the process. But yeah, other than that, I really do like the look of it overall. It's a nice, great sword, because obviously this sword is supposed to be, you know, larger than all the other ones. Not as large as, like, you know, the Gekido, but like it is supposed to be, you know, a typical like grand sword, not grand sword, great sword. I just, again, I like its simplistic look. Put this if we were to pull out Rekka. As you can see, it's definitely somewhat larger, as Rekka is essentially a few inches short. But you know, I guess from like driver perspective, it's, gosh, as you can see, it's definitely longer. Obviously, again, I just like how they took the emblem aspect and made it move and such. As you can see, the entire track here. I feel like I'm just prolonging things at this point. So obviously, just like, you know, the other Seikens that actually read the Wonder Ride books, this requires 3 AAA batteries. You saw in there. Obviously, this is the same thing. And then the on-off switch right here. So obviously you get the announcement. Then we get obviously one singular slashing sound. That will do. Because now, obviously, we load this into the sword driver itself. Then we get that sound. And again, here it is within the sword driver itself. I really do like this in there because, you know, again, it's pretty large, which is pretty, you know, for a final form item, it's pretty cool. It's also just, again, really neat that we finally get a, you know, we finally get a different sword in here. Because, you know, obviously for the most part, they've been just cutting it with, obviously, emblem swapping, but this is like the first actual proper sword, or like the first actual, like, different sword that's actually supposed to be in here, so that's really neat. Then the Bato sound, just like so. Now, yeah, and I feel like I do this inconsistently, but now, obviously, just like the sound update edition of the Kaiken Rekka, if this actually is on. Obviously, when you have this in, when you press the button, obviously it will have phrases, or technically, I guess, for, you know, the Shomu, you know, when you have that in the phrase mode, you know, obviously when this is loaded into the sword driver, you get 10 phrases of Toma. Now, I should probably state that these are phrases mostly from version 1 of the sound update edition of the Kaiken Rekka. I believe at least 2 of these phrases are actually new, but we'll figure that out when I actually do cover the sound update edition. So let's go through the phrases. This doesn't do anything. That one is it. I feel like that one's the only one that's actually new. But then again, I don't remember much of version 1. But yeah, obviously, as you saw demonstrated on the box, you don't get any new Wonder Ride books with this, nor does it come with any. So you actually have to resort back into using Brave Dragon. So obviously, just, you know, just the normal process, just slot this into the sword driver. Now we get a brand new standby, to which obviously, to complete the transformation, just simply pull it out. So there's the transformation for Xross Saber, which now is the newest, longest final form transformation. Jingle beating out Grand Geo, and I really do like the 7 LEDs it goes through, and just honestly, just pulling this out of the sword driver feels a lot more satisfying, probably because I think it helps that this is a lot bigger, so it's actually a lot easier, and so it doesn't get us stuck and such. Because again, it's the same mechanism and such. But yeah, obviously that's the same. I'm not gonna bother doing the Wonder Attack because obviously the book isn't different. It's the sword. Speaking of the Seiken, obviously we still have the Hisatsu Dokhas. So let's do the Geki. for the Giri. Now, next up, which is one that actually didn't happen in the show, we're gonna do a 2-book combo. So obviously, the box obviously demonstrates King of Arthur. I don't have interest on Arthur, so we're gonna use our best storybook, Kieran Scares Kid. Obviously, the standby remains the same. So there we get Hybrid Saber, which is essentially, again, a cosmic repaint of whatever form this will be. So this will be Dragon Kieran. Or, not that naming scheme, but, you know. Obviously, we got new finishers. I don't know why that's happening. I think it's because of this. But anyways, now actually moving on to stuff that happened in the show. So obviously he used Storm Eagle and Sayu Journey once again to essentially become Crimson Dragon, but obviously renamed into Crimson Saber. So again, we get that. And again, finishers. And then, technically, or last but not least, for new forms, like, technically the only new form out of Cross Saber, to which, obviously, I think only occurred once, is featuring Saber, which is funny, because technically, I guess because, I don't know, but basically, obviously, this is the form that everyone was assuming that was going to happen, but we only got a Dragon out of Gina. But obviously, this is the Cross Saber form that includes Lion Senki and Lambda out of Gina. So there we get the jingle for featuring Saber, absolutely my favorite one. I really do like the LEDs actually coordinate to the 3 books, because obviously as we've been looking through, all the other ones have just been circling through the 7 LEDs and such. And if we were to do finishers, it's the exact same. So yeah, what the heck? Oh, this last one we don't need dragon, actually, because this last one technically I shouldn't do, because we haven't covered these, because I'm still missing like 4 of these books. But that is the Legend Rider books, because they can actually be recognized within here. So one by one. So we get a Legend Rider jingle, which is essentially the jingle for the entirety of Kamen Rider, because obviously it's to commemorate the 50th anniversary. So it's really cool that they implemented something like that. This one's probably my second favorite of the jingle. Again, I don't know when I can actually cover these books. I really want to say sometime by the end of the year or early next year. I'm sorry. Again. It's the exact same thing. So let me just remove these books, because now we're gonna jump into the next mode, to which when you hold the button down and switch it on, obviously we get Tomoe Xross Saber. And technically what's different within this mode is that, you know, instead of like getting the phrases from there, you can just press the trigger and then get Toma attacking sounds. You essentially cycle through each phrase again, but with a different attack. So I'm just gonna go through the attack sound only. Sorry, I'm going through these phrases. So obviously, again, all those were carried over from the Kaiken Rekka Sound of the Edition. Now, I'm going to cover 2 things, because technically, obviously, the transformations are also different, but also because, you know, to prove a point, you don't really need to use any specific books. So obviously, as you can see here, I have Happy Brave Dragon, because I'm not going to bring this thing back out ever again. So if I use this, as you can hear, the jingles are shortened, which is pretty neat. This is the, again, second Final Form toy to actually have a shortened mode, which is really neat. And then we can go with Hybrid Saber. I technically forgot I already did prove that because I used Kieran Scare's kit. But, Crimson Saber? So yeah, you can clearly see this isn't Crimson Dragon. This is 2/3 of Happy Rider and World Story Rider. So yeah, this thing doesn't really care what books you use, as long as you put in one book. You put in one book, it will do Cross Saber. You put in 2 books, it will do Hybrid Saber. And if you put in 3 books, it will do Crimson Saber. The only combination that actually matters of what books you use is featuring Saber. So let's do that again. I don't like that one as much as the full one, but at the same time, I appreciate this one. They went through the most editing. Now, obviously, this actually applies to the Legend Rider books too. However, again, I can prove another point with the Legend Rider books, as again, here's another book that's in limbo of review. Whoops. Yeah, it doesn't really, like, all the Legend Riders, sadly, don't go through the same thing as the normal books. All the Legend Rider books will activate the Legend Rider jingle, which is kind of disappointing, but the only difference, again, is the finisher, to which, again, if we do this... The finisher is sadly the same. You don't get, like, Toma sounds out of it, sadly. Which, like, you don't get, like, how yeah. I don't remember his finisher. They're not in the Kamen Rider Sound Update edition. Like, that's kind of disappointing that you don't get his finishers, but yeah. So speaking of finishers, let's get into the essentially the other half of the functionality of this thing, which is obviously its weapon mode, because obviously this is technically the first, like, proper weapon out of Saber that actually could do weapon things. And this it doesn't matter what mode you're in, because it doesn't, you know, there's no difference. Again, it's just the button sound. But the way you start this simply is by you know, lifting up the, like, sliding the sun to either these 3 sections. So obviously we're gonna slide it to this first, to which you get that sound. It will start lighting up, and then you just start pressing the trigger. This thing is really finicky for some reason. I don't know why. So obviously from here you can cycle through each 3 of the seconds. I don't know why it keeps doing that. And it'll actually stay on the one you selected, so we do Rekka. Then if we press the trigger, so there we did the Rekka cross Giri, obviously just cross slash, to which technically obviously summons the Kaioken Rekka and such. So if we select Nagare, slide this down, and then slide it back up, and then obviously it'll skip over Nagare. And if we pick Ikazuchi, I'm sorry I've been saying Ikazuchi. So there obviously we summon both the Nagare and Ikazuchi. And then slide it from this section. And then slide down. As you can see, the LED colors correspond to the Seiken. And then the last section. As you can tell, Psycho and Gekido are the only two that share a color. So those are all the Seiken summoning sounds. Now, obviously you can mix and match, so... And you can do stuff like this too. And you can go backwards too. So you don't have to go in order and such. However, the max amount of Seikens you can, summon is 13, as I'll demonstrate. I apologize for not aligning it. Because I think at this point, you can't even, if you already selected it, it would just say that. So yeah, that's summoning all the Seikens. I'm really glad it allows you to do that, and it just doesn't do like the Icon Driver G where it just does the all formation and such. I really do like it does say all 13 Seikens. I really like that. Now, last but not least, we got the Hisatsu Read, which you activate by pressing the center of the emblem. Obviously, this is a different Hisatsu Read from, doing this and such, to which you scan this section to one of these 3 sections. So, obviously, the 3 Seiken. Then we get the finisher standby again. So now you can do, obviously, you can do each section, but you know, I guess for show accuracy's sake, I'll just go through each. I'll, you know, go do the build up, because obviously you can just skip straight to this one and then like slide it back down, but you know, the show, I think he actually goes through them all. So I should have let that go through. Because again, if you go through the last one, you know, it was still acknowledged that it's 13, because technically, essentially, it just only goes to like, it's not like the normal Seiken summoning mode where you can actually go back and summon. But yeah, I think essentially, again, the LEDs are the same. It's just that you don't get the purple, light blue, or orange included. But yeah, that's essentially it for this thing by itself. Obviously, the last thing we have to deal with is the Hisatsu holder, because they didn't forget about this thing. Oops. So obviously slot it in, and then obviously activate it like how you would typically do this. Well, I think it always did light up. Like, that sounds pretty cool. I'm actually surprised it happened in the show, not the way it was just a random thing they played in. Like, they didn't actually show him putting in the Hisatsu holder. Like, he was just in the air and they played the sound. It was weird. Although, like, I don't know, I would have liked if it was consistent with the others, because obviously they don't have the releasing sound for the majority of them. Like, again, if we showed, like, Shomu, because again, this is the only one that isn't technically physically showcased. So, you know, you can tell from like that's, you know, it says it right away. It doesn't have the bato sound, but other than that, actually, let's put it up like so. Yeah, my thoughts overall on the Cross Saber is that it's a really unique final form item. This is like pretty cool. Like, obviously, people have their gripes about the form. We're not here to talk about the form. Again, like I said, I'm personally fine with it, because they specifically said they wanted to do a homage on Stronger's charge up. And honestly, it's just like, I'm okay with what they're doing with final forms, because honestly, it's refreshing that we got a repaint. So I'll take it. Like, I don't know, like, people just don't acknowledge the fact that he technically does have a new helmet. Oh, but the toy itself, this is fantastic. Like, this is like a pretty cool final item for the toy, or for the retail line, because honestly, it has been tiring for, like, me at least, that final form items have just been, hey, here's big version of gimmick that you put in belt, and, you know, and then, like, you know, it allows you to use the abilities of everything and such. Like, yes, this thing does use all the abilities of the Seikens, but honestly, it's like, that's the point. Like, that's kind of the thing, though. This thing emphasizes on the Seikens, not the Wonder Ride books, because that's this thing. But I just really like, again, it's really nice that we finally got another Seiken for the Sword Driver that isn't just an emblem. I, for what you can do with it is pretty neat. Obviously, what I mean is that, like, what you can do with it by itself, because you can just sit around there and, like, select whatever Seikens you want to summon and just, have fun with that. It's essentially, again, like the Icon Driver G. And then you got, like, 3 finishers, like, weapon finishers out of that. But obviously, it also doubles as a transformation item. Obviously, I think at this point, this is where, like, you can kind of say that it kind of, like, loses some steam, because obviously each book doesn't have their jingles and such. You don't, because again, it's like, if I wanted to, have, like, blades, for example, to become cross blades or something like that, you can't do that because you're just stuck with cross saber. I don't mind personally about, like, the lack of, like, Wonder Ride book compatibility. I think it's just nice overall that you can actually, like, this toy forces you to go back into these gimmicks, because again, it's like this, like, Saber exhausted on, hey, look, big book. So it's kind of like, I think it makes sense that they will just release another toy that can also read the Seikens. Obviously not the same way, like, the Seiken, the Kyomu and Kuriyami, because obviously they don't have wonder marks. Like, this thing can only read Wonder Ride books when it's in the Sword Driver, not outside, which I guess makes that unique. Like, again, like, the fact that this thing even has 5 unique jingles is pretty impressive on its own. So I can't really fault, like, not having enough, I guess. Because the thing is that the jingles, too, are pretty long. Like, the jingles are 30 seconds minimum. So, honestly, I think you get a lot for, like, what you get. And honestly, it's just a nice way of rounding out the retail line of Saber as a whole. What else can I bring up? I guess trying to get this toy, obviously, because it is a final form item, have fun. It's not fun. Because, okay, I had to bite and get this for like $60 off of Amazon Japan via Macari. Not via Macari, via Buy. Which just, like, I don't know. Cause, like, what? I essentially got this for $20 more than the Sword Driver itself. I literally forgot to show this. See, I knew I forgot something, but obviously when you use the Cross Saber with a big book, it actually allows it to play. It's not like the Kyomu. As you can see, it actually does go through the rainbow LEDs and such. So it's like, oh, cool. Does this mean that we can actually get a book specific for the Cross Saber? Nope, we're never getting that. Like, I know, like, I kind of wish that was the case personally, but I'll get into that later when we get to the premium stuff. But, like, again, try to find this for, like, a reasonable price. I'll say get it for like 50, 55 max. I really just, just basically because of the fact that, you can't do proper Hisatsu reads. But, like, at the same time, though, it's like, if you just want to sit around and you don't mind the fact you're just going to get the same jingle, though I'll say do this in the short mode, because I think if you do it, you just keep in the normal mode, you're gonna get extremely tired. But like, you know, just if you don't mind sitting through the same jingle, again, short mode, with like all the books you have, I think you can have fun with this and such. Now, surprisingly, again, unlike 02, they didn't bundle this into a set, which, yeah, I guess that makes sense, because again, this is an entire roleplay toy. But speaking of 02, it's just like, you know, I like this in 02 for just adding something to the driver, or like actually physically changing it in some way. Because obviously with 02, that changed it into a different, quote unquote, completely different driver, and you know, it functioned like a different one. This one just simply, again, is a completely new Seiken that goes into the sword driver, and I really like that. Obviously, I doubt that we're ever going to get a ultimate version of this thing. It will be interesting if we do, but I don't think we will. But I guess you know, if you just want to get your hands on, like, you know, again, the suit sword driver version, then obviously stop dragging this entire video. So that'll have to do with this review. I'll be leaving you people. This is Power Rider. Bye.